Hi, hello everyone. Welcome to another video lecture as part of our TOP series with me. It's Michelle, and today we are going to talk about another psychodynamic theory in theories of personality. And today, ang pag-uusapan po natin ay si Erich Fromm, who added his own twist to psychoanalysis, and his theory of personality is known as the Humanistic Psychoanalysis. So I'm not quite sure if you have encountered Erich Fromm in your introduction to psychology. I suppose you have had encountered him already. His full name is Erich Seligman Fromm, and he was a neo-Freudian psychoanalyst, isa din siyang social psychologist, so a German social psychologist, humanistic philosopher, and also a popular democratic socialist. Now, Fromm, he suggested a theory of personality based on two primary needs: the need for freedom and the need for belonging. He was known for developing the concept that freedom was a fundamental part of human nature, and also very popular to si Fromm for challenging the theories of Sigmund Freud. Now, he suggested that people develop certain personality styles or strategies in order to deal with the anxiety created by feelings of isolation. Okay, so he also advocated psychoanalysis as a tool for curing cultural problems and thus reducing mental illness. Fromm believed that character in humans evolve as a way for people to meet their needs. Now, unlike Freud, he did not believe that character was fixed. Okay, so his works investigated emotional problems in free societies and advocated psychoanalysis as a cure. Sabi ko na to kanina, no, as a cure for cultural problems, no, for cultural ills, and also as a tool to aid the development of a non-neurotic society. Now, ano ba yung existential dichotomies ni Fromm? Okay? Merong tayong tinatawag na three existential dichotomies according to Fromm. Ano-ano ba yung mga ito? But before that, ano may ibig sabihin ng term na dichotomy, no? So, the term dichotomy is used by Fromm to specify two alternative contradictions. So, objectively, itong mga dichotomy na ito, nag-exist siya sa ating human life, and they appear as problems craving for solutions. Now, Fromm's basic assumption is that individual personality can be understood only in the light of human history. So Fromm, he believed that humans, unlike other animals, have been torn away, no, from our prehistoric union with nature. Sinabi din niya na tayo ay wala tayong powerful instincts to adapt to a changing world, pero na-acquire natin yung facility to reason. Okay? Now, balik tayo dun sa existential dichotomies, no? So si Fromm, he referred to these as existential dichotomies because they are rooted in people's very existence. So existence, existential, no? Ayan. So humans cannot do away with these existential dichotomies according to Fromm. He said that they can only react to these dichotomies relative to their culture and their individual personalities. Now, the first and most fundamental dichotomy is that between life and death. Second would be that humans are capable of conceptualizing yung mga goals natin of complete self-realization, but aware din tayo na ang buhay ay too short, maikli lamang para ma-reach natin itong goal na ito. Okay? Now, the third existential dichotomy is that people are ultimately alone, yet hindi natin kayang mag-isa. No, we cannot tolerate isolation. Ayan. So, according to Fromm, like what I've mentioned kanina, personality is based on two primary needs. So, the need for freedom and the need for belonging. Okay? And arising from these two primary needs, Fromm outlined five essential human needs, or the five existential needs, namely relatedness, rootedness, transcendence, sense of identity, and a frame of orientation. Okay, now, the absence of these five existential needs, according to Fromm, would cause mental and social problems. For example, alienation. Now, for number one to Fromm, relatedness was the source of psychological energy, joy, well-being, and identity. At kapag ka nawala daw itong relatedness, no, um, madidissipate yung energy away. No? And para kay Fromm, if wala tayong active relatedness sa mundo, and even with their own feelings, no, pwede itong mag-result to social circumstances that may prevent people from developing genuine, loving, and productive relationship. Okay? Now, si Fromm, he considered the needs of rootedness and unity to be variations of the need for relatedness. Yung rootedness, tinatawag din nila itong unity. Rootedness and unity, no, in some of the resources. He believed that people seek after unity because of that existential split between the human and non-human world. So kanina, di ba, na-mention ko na um, isa sa assumption niya ay tayo as humans, unlike animals, we have been torn away from that prehistoric union natin, no, with nature. So lagi tayong may ganong feeling na we want to be united, no? Be unified, ganyan. Okay, so unity and rootedness. Okay, as the second need. Okay? Now, sabi ni Fromm, yung condition would be unbearable if humans would not establish a sense of unity within ourselves and with the natural and human world outside. Okay? So, number three, yung emphasis then on the need for transcendence. Sinabi ni Fromm, no? This need for transcendence, traditionally used in in theology, no, to describe people's tendency to need to transcend, no, their self-centered and isolated position in the world to one of being related to others, no, of openness to the world, escaping the hell of self-centeredness and hence self-imprisonment. To see from, he believed that religion could serve this need. Okay. Number four, Fromm's sense of identity is also a derivative of and dependent upon the core needs of relatedness. So, bumabalik-balik siya sa relatedness. So, parang dun siya lahat nagmumula. Okay? Now, Fromm believed that being in a strange and overwhelming world, sometimes people, no, we can feel incompetent. And for us to be able to compensate for the real possibility of feeling passive, no, and losing one sense of will, that incompetent feelings, we acquire a sense of being able to do something. And this ability to do something and to be effective, ito yung nagpo-form ng ating sense of identity. Okay, now finally, for frame of orientation, so another need ito na related naman to a sense of identity, yung naunang need before that. Okay, so frame of orientation, it takes the form, no, according to Fromm, of both a frame of reference and an object of devotion around which someone can organize and direct their actions. Okay. Yeah. Now, let's talk about human dilemma according to Fromm. This is a condition where people, tayo, we experience this basic dilemma because we have become separate from nature, no? And yet, um, we have that ability or capacity to reason, no? The capacity to be aware of ourselves as isolated beings. Okay? Now, positive freedom, sabi niya, is um, the only thing, no, that can solve that human dilemma. Okay? So, human dilemma can only be solved through positive freedom, which is the spontaneous activity of the whole integrated personality and which is achieved when a person becomes reunited with others. Okay? So, this represents overcoming loneliness, achieving union with others and also of the world, and um, also represents maintaining individuality. Yan. Now, the central thesis of Fromm's writings is that humans have been torn from nature. Okay? So, paulit-ulit na sabi ko na to kanina. Yet, sabi ni Fromm, we remain part of that natural world and subject to the same physical limitations as other animals. We are the only animal possessing that self-awareness, imagination, and reasoning. And it is for this reason that he called humans as the freaks of the universe. So, reason and freedom is both a curse and, of course, a blessing. It is responsible for making people feel isolated and lonely, but it's also the process that enables us humans to become reunited with the world. So, um, as children, no, as children become more independent of their mothers, for example, they gain more freedom to express their individuality, to move around unsupervised, to choose their friends, anong clothes yung susuotin ko, and many, many more, no, as they mature they are starting to gain that freedom to express themselves. But at the same time, they experience yung burden of freedom. And that is when they are free from the security of being one with their mother, nakakaroon sila ng basic anxiety, no? On both social and an individual level. Parang nagiging burden yung freedom sa kanila and it results in basic anxiety kasi nagkakaroon sila ng feeling of being alone in the world. So Fromm believed that humans are the freaks of nature because we lack that strong animal instincts while possessing that ability to reason. Okay? So freedom creates an unbearable anxiety. Therefore, di ba nasabi natin, no, pag nahiwalay yung child doon sa mother, so nagkakaroon ng anxiety. Okay? So freedom creates an unbearable anxiety. Therefore, si Fromm, he identifies three main mechanisms that we use to escape freedom. And these are authoritarianism, destructiveness, and conformity. Now, this function as neurosis and na-normalize siya in the society. Okay? So sabi kasi ni Fromm sa book niya na Escaping Freedom, freedom is not an experience we enjoy in itself. So ayun nga, he suggested that many people, rather than using it successfully, attempt to minimize its negative effects by developing thoughts and behaviors that provide some form of security. Okay? These are as follows. Ito nga yung mechanisms na yon, yung pag-uusapan natin. Okay? Yung number one, authoritarianism. So, si Fromm, he characterizes the authoritarian personality as containing both sadistic and masochistic elements. Okay? And ang mga authoritarians kasi they can gain control over other people in a bid to impose some kind of order in the world, no? But also they wish to submit to the control of some superior force which, may come in the guise of a person or even an abstract idea. So second, yung destructiveness. Although may similarity ito to sadism, Fromm argues that the sadist wishes to gain control over something, no? While a destructive personality, no, wishes to destroy something it cannot bring under its control. Okay, so it's all about control for the sadist, for the destructive personality. Ayun nga, wishes to destroy something which it cannot bring under its control. Okay? Now, conformity naman, this process is seen when people unconsciously incorporate the normative beliefs and thought processes of their society and experience them as their own. So this allows them to avoid genuine free thinking, which is likely to provoke anxiety. Okay? Now, Fromm also believed that people could exhibit the characteristics of more than one type and that personalities can be made up of a combination of different orientations. So he believed that character is something that stems both from our genetic inheritance and from our learning experience. So some aspects of our character are hereditary, while others stem from what we learn at home, from school, and from society. And of course, there is the interplay between the two influences. No? So Fromm also believed that character is something na deeply ingrained siya sa atin and mahirap na siyang mabago. However, being aware of our tendencies and being committed to change can also help inspire change. Okay, now the different traits that emerge from each of the five character types have both positive and negative aspects. No, dito sa character orientation types that we will be discussing shortly. So si Fromm, he generally viewed the first four orientations as unproductive character orientation types. Okay, so let's talk about the receptive character type. No, the receptive type is characterized by um, a need for constant support from others, and they tend to be passive, they tend to be needy, and totally dependent upon others. These people require constant support from family, from friends and others, no, but they do not reciprocate this support. So receptive lang, tanggap lang sila ng tanggap, pero hindi nila nire-reciprocate yung kind of support that they receive. Now, these type of individuals with this orientation, they tend to lack confidence in their own abilities, and they have a difficult time making their own decisions. So, individuals who grew up in household na medyo overbearing and controlling, siguro yung mga parents nila, they often tend to have this personality orientation. Okay? Now, the second one, so another character orientation which is unproductive type, is the exploitative type. Itong mga ganitong individuals with orientations like this, sila yung mga willing to lie, willing to cheat, and they're willing to manipulate others in order to get what they need. Bakit parang may naaalala akong ganitong tao? Well, anyway, no, in order to fulfill their need to belong, they might seek out people who have low self-esteem, or they may also lie about loving someone they don't really care about, no, para makuha lang yung gusto nila. So these types, they take what they need either through force or through deception, and they also exploit other people to meet their own selfish needs. So ang bad ni exploitative character type. Yan. So the third one is the hoarding character type, no? So the hoarding type copes with insecurity by, never parting with anything. So oftentimes ito yung mga nagko-collect ng sobrang daming gamit, no? They collect a massive amount of possessions, and they seem to care more about their material possessions than they do about people. Okay, so meron tayong siguro pwede natin siyang i-relate dun sa um, hoarding, parang hoarding disorder, no? Where someone acquires an excessive number of items and stores them in, a very chaotic manner, usually resulting in unmanageable amounts of clutter, and sometimes yung mga gamit nila can be of little or no monetary value, pero pinatago-tago pa din nila. So, meron tayong ganon, hoarding disorder na tinatawag. So, etong hoarding character type, ito yung may mga tendency na maging ganon siguro if hindi nila yan na-control. Now, the marketing character type is the next, no? The marketing type looks at relationships in terms of what they can gain from the exchange. So, mga marketing type talaga, no? They might focus on, halimbawa, marrying someone for social status, for money, and they tend to have shallow and anxious personalities. Okay? Now, these types tend to be opportunistic and change their beliefs and values depending on ano yung magiging tingin sa kanila, no? Or or on what they think they on what they think will get them ahead, no? Kung sino yung mas makakapagbigay sa kanila ng more opportunities, ganyan. Okay? Now, yung number 5, and this is the only productive character type, and the name is productive character type nga. Now, this type is a person who takes their negative feelings and channels the energy into productive work. So, ang focus niya palagi is on building love, nurturing, having meaningful relationships with other people. And hindi siya hindi siya yung pang romantic relationships lang, but also to other kinds of relationships like familial relationships, friendships, social relationships, ganyan. So, those with this type of character orientation, they are often described as a good parent, a good spouse, a good friend, a lovely coworker, or the best employee. Yeah. So out of the 5 character types described by Fromm, the productive type is the only healthy approach to dealing with the anxiety that results from the conflict between the need for freedom and the need to belong. Ayan. Okay. Um, Sabi dito, no, productive orientation, ang emphasize lang natin. So, the single productive orientation has 3 dimensions. Okay? So, working, loving, and reasoning. Because productive people work toward positive freedom and a continuing realization of their potential. They are the most healthy of all character types, and healthy people, they value work not as an end in itself, but as a means of creative self-expression. Now, productive love is characterized by the 4 qualities of love. Yun nga yung sinabi ko earlier. Sinabi ko ba yun siya? Parang hindi ko pa siya nasabi, no? So, ito na nga yung 4 qualities, no, of love, yung care, responsibility, respect, and knowledge. And in addition dito sa 4 na ito, no, healthy people possess biophilia. Okay, so ano ba yung biophilia, no? Ito yung passionate love of life and all that is alive. So, biophilic people desire to further all life, no, the life of people, the life of animals, plants, ideas, and cultures. No, say they are so concerned with the growth and development of not just themselves but also of others. So biophilic individuals, gusto nilang maka-influence ng mga tao through love and reason and good example. So not by force. Okay. Now, productive thinking, which cannot be separated from productive work and love, is motivated by concerned interest in another person or object. And healthy people see others as they are and not as they would wish them to be. So, ganun yung mga healthy people, no? So, we have to try to see others as kung sino ba sila and hindi yung kung anong gusto mong maging sila, no? And similarly, alam ng mga healthy people, no, kung sino sila, no? They know themselves for who they are, and they don't have a need for self-delusion. They just know themselves. They are just fully aware of themselves. Okay? Now, si Fromm, he believed that these healthy people, they rely on some combination of all the 5 character orientations. Okay? Their survival as healthy individuals depend on yung ability nila to receive things from other people, to take things only when appropriate, to preserve things, to exchange things, and, to work, love, and think productively. Okay? Ayan. So, from the character types, nagpunta naman tayo dun sa mga personality disorders, no, according to Fromm. Okay? So, si Fromm, sinabi niya that psychologically disturbed people are incapable of love. Okay? That makes sense. And, yung mga disturbed people psychologically, they have failed to establish union with others, no, with other people. So he discussed three severe personality disorders. There are many personality disorders. These three are only according to Fromm's theory. Wait lang. Mag-charge lang ako. So, where so eto na nga yung mga personality disorders according to Fromm's theory. Ito yung necrophilia, malignant narcissism, and the incestuous symbiosis. Now, necrophilia, no, or the term necrophilia means love of death. And usually it refers to a sexual perversion in which, a person desires sexual contact with a corpse. However, not far from, he used necrophilia in a more generalized sense, no, to denote any attraction to death. So, necrophilia is like an alternative character orientation to biophilia. Diba na-discuss ko yung biophilia kanina? So, pag biophilia, so love for, ano naman, love for anything of life, for people, for animals, for plants. So, lahat love niya. Ito naman, yung alternative character niya is love or attraction to death. Necrophilia yan. No? So, ayun nga. So, some of us, we are biophilic, no? So, we love living things, we love nature, we like people, no? And we naturally love life, no? But when social conditions stunt biophilia, we may adopt a necrophilic orientation. Now, necrophilous people, no, they do not simply behave in a destructive manner. So rather, their destructive behavior is a reflection of their basic character. Okay? Now, another one is the malignant narcissism. Okay? So, malignant narcissism, tayo kasi, we all have some narcissistic tendencies. No? So, healthy people, we manifest like very slight form of narcissism, like benign form of narcissism, where we have an interest in our own body, we want to look good, we want to feel good all the time. However, if it is in its malignant form, no, yung narcissism, it impedes yung perception of reality, so that everything, no, belonging to that narcissistic person is highly valued, and everything belonging to another person is devalued. So kung healthy individual ka lang, yes, you might want to appreciate your own beauty, but you also appreciate others' beauty and successes, or other people's happiness. Pero itong mga um, malignant forms ng narcissism, ito yung mga narcissistic person na nagde-devalue ng other people. Lalo na kung yung other people na yan ay successful, they would devalue, they would dismiss yung mga um, um, beautiful sa ibang tao, or what's good sa ibang tao. Okay? So, narcissistic individuals, masyado silang preoccupied with themselves, no? And yung concern na to is not limited only, no, to admiring themselves in a mirror. So, it's like a preoccupation with one's body, no? Sobrang preoccupied sila with their body, and sometimes it leads to hypochondriasis. Pag sinabi natin hypochondriasis, sobrang attention to one's health, as in, hindi na siya yung normal, palagi siyang feeling niya may sakit siya, nire-research niya lahat ng symptoms niya, tapos nagda-diagnose siya ng sarili niya. So, nafe-feel niya lalo na parang meron siyang health problem, kaka-diagnose niya sa sarili, kakabasa niya sa Google no, kung anong sakit meron siya. Kahit wala naman, nabasa niya lang, sinabi niya may sakit siyang gano'n. No? So, yung gantong mga tao, meron silang mga preoccupations, no, to their bodies, ganyan. No? And it leads to hypochondriasis. Now, Si Fromm, he also discussed moral hypochondriasis where yung kasi yung isa kanina parang physical siya, no? Although una sa isip lang pero nagma-manifest din siya physically, meron din tayong moral hypochondriasis. No? Ito naman yung preoccupation ng tao with guilt about previous transgression. So people who are fixated on themselves are likely to internalize yung mga experiences nila and nagdidwell sila on their physical health and also on their moral virtues. No? Yung, as in OA, yung pagdwell nila sa kanilang physical health and moral virtues. Ganyan. Okay? The third one is incestual symbiosis. Now, a third pathological orientation, no, is incestuous symbiosis, or ito naman yung extreme dependence on the mother or mother surrogate. Okay? So incestuous symbiosis is like an exaggerated form of the more common or more benign mother fixation. So men with the mother fixation, they need a woman to care for them, no, dote on them, and also admire them. They feel somewhat anxious and depressed, no? Kapag hindi na po na-fulfill yung mga needs nila, and yung mga needs nila that they feel should be satisfied by someone who is nurturing, like a mother. Now, this condition is, um, it can be relatively normal and does not greatly interfere with their daily life, no? I'm talking about yung benign mother fixation. Pero with the incestuous symbiosis, no, however, itong mga people na to, they are inseparable from the host person. So meaning their personalities are blended with other person in the individual identities are actually lost already. And pag sinabi kasi natin incestuous symbiosis, nag-originate ito in infancy pa lang as a natural attachment to the mothering one, no? So yung caretaker, which is the mother. Now, the attachment is more crucial and fundamental than any sexual interest that may develop during the Oedipal period. So remember, no, when we talk about the Oedipal period, ito yung dun sa psychosexual stages ni Sigmund Freud. Now, Fromm agreed more with Harry Stack Sullivan, no, than with Freud in suggesting that attachment to the mother rests on the need for security and not for sex. Okay, so sexual strivings are not the cause of the fixation to the mother, but a result of it. Okay, so some pathologic individuals, they possess all three personality disorders. That is, they are attracted to death, they take pleasure in destroying those whom they regard as inferiors, no? So yung mga malignant narcissism, and also they possess a neurotic symbiotic relationship with their mother or mother substitute. So yun yung sa incestuous symbiosis. Now, such people form what Fromm called the syndrome of decay. So he contrasted this pathological people with those who are marked by the syndrome of growth. Okay, so pathological um, people with those who are marked by all of these three personality disorders, syndrome of um, decay, okay, as opposed to um, the syndrome of growth. Ito naman, they are made up of the opposite qualities, no? Like yung biophilia, love, and positive freedom. Okay? Ayan. Tama ba tayo? Ayan. So, let's talk about psychotherapy, no? Yung goal of from psychotherapy. So, psychotherapy for him, no? Ang sabi niya kasi is humanistic psychoanalysis, di ba? Yung sa kanya. Okay? In-evolve niya yung psychotherapy as his own and called it humanistic psychoanalysis. Okay? So, hindi siya same with Freud's psychotherapy. Okay? So, sabi ko nga, nag-evolve, no? nag-evolve ito into his own system of therapy, which he called humanistic psychoanalysis. So compared with Freud, Fromm was much more concerned with the interpersonal aspects of therapeutic encounter, and he believed that yung aim of therapy daw is for patients to really get to know more about themselves, no? To come to know themselves. Because without knowledge of ourselves, sabi niya, we cannot know any other person or thing. And that makes sense, diba? So, kailangan nakikilala mo muna yung sarili mo bago ka magkaroon ng knowledge of other people, diba? Hindi mo nga makilala sarili mo eh. So, kailangan ikaw muna. Okay? So, he believed that patients come to therapy seeking satisfaction of their basic human needs. So, ito yung 5, no? Kung natatandaan natin, yung relatedness, transcendence, rootedness, sense of identity, and frame of orientation. Therefore, yung therapy daw should be built on a personal relationship between the therapist and the patient. Okay? So, accurate communication, according to Fromm, is essential to therapeutic growth. The therapist must relate as one human being to another, no? And with concentration, no? Kailangan meron siyang focus at sincere ba, no? Yung kanilang relationship as therapy and client. Okay, so that's about it for Erich Fromm. If you have questions, you can message me sa ating group chat so I can answer your questions about it. I could remember merong nagtanong about necrophilia. Um, I have to go back to the message, no? And I will reply. If you have any other questions, sige, magtanong lang po kayo for my students. For those who are not my students also, you're free to ask questions and I can answer you later on. So thank you for today. I'll see you in my next video.